During the 1990s, HIV spread rapidly in many African countries, but in the East African nation of Uganda, many lives were saved by a powerful HIV prevention campaign known as Zero Grazing or Love Carefully. This campaign urged people to reduce their sexual partners and remain faithful to one person, or if they were a part of a polygamous family, to avoid outside sexual relationships. Sam Okware of Uganda's Ministry of Health designed the campaign.
Zero grazing meant that you had to feed within your own paddock. It meant that you had to have your own wife. If you had two, they must all be in one paddock. Stick on those two. If you had one, you must stick on that one. But don't go beyond to the next paddock. In the entire city here, there were many vehicles, many vans called zero grazing vans. And that had quite a bit of an attraction.
Condoms are also effective in preventing HIV infection, but they only work if used consistently and correctly, as Paul Kagwa, who worked with Dr. Okware on the Zero Grazing campaign, explains.
Condoms are good when used consistently. The problem sometimes is that if you stay wrong with a partner for some time, whom probably has not tested, there is a tendency to trust this person and, say, situations that have been with her for a long time, she must be safe. And then you relax, and at the end of the day, you find that you're wrong for using condoms. You are a human being. There is a tendency to over-relax and whatever.
Remaining faithful to one partner and using condoms consistently with outside partners are both essential for avoiding HIV. But even if you have only one sexual partner, you may still be at risk because people are put at risk by the entire network, not just by their own behavior. Therefore, it's not enough for you to reduce your partners alone. Your partner has to reduce his partners too, and they have to reduce their partners, and so on.
One's individual faithfulness is not enough. If you are faithful to your one partner, but that one partner has many others, either temporarily or over a period of time, eventually you are put at risk. And if I might add, this has been the great problem of women in Africa, who have proven very often to be faithful to their husbands, only to find that the husband has girlfriends and concubines and second wives and third. So your own faithfulness may not be sufficient to protect you over the long run.
Maxine Ankra studied the epidemic in Uganda during the 1980s. She and others recognized that fighting AIDS would require a broad social movement to get everyone to change at once. Government health officials supported the movement, but ordinary people were part of it too, as Paul Kagwa explains.
And when you are confronted with a big problem, a tragedy, as Africans, as Ugandans, you come together. So that togetherness was also applied in the area of HIV AIDS. Yes, you can tell an individual to change, but there must be that social pressure, the social norms, what in the behavior change we call the influence of significant others. Other people are significant to you, will actually influence you to adopt or not to adopt a behavior. In this case, because people were dying, everybody was involved in the burying, there were so many orphans, widows, and the widows left behind, the community had to come together. Ugandans had to come together and really address the problem. And this was not only health workers. We had the intervention of the political leaders, cultural leaders, religious leaders, opinion leaders, including places of work, like in the schools, in the companies. Everybody was talking about AIDS and how to prevent it, how to avoid it. So it was a social movement against HIV AIDS.
And one of those important restructurings was the women's movement, where women came together to want a change in their status. Among that change was more power within the relationship with their husbands, with their fathers, their brothers. Then it was very quickly seen that they were at very great risk because of the lack of power. So very quickly, the mobilization against HIV was partly a gender-focused, gender-based activity.
This social mobilization did more than raise awareness about AIDS. It also helped break up the transmission chain, or the superhighway, that allowed the virus to spread.
While if you are sticking to one and you are with this person for a long time, the transmission chain is not as big as when you have multiple sexual partners. Because suppose let's look at it, if you have about 4, how faithful are they to you and how faithful are you to them? And that one puts actually people at higher risk. So it is that kind of transmission chain that the community action, the social movement sort of broke down and people reduced their sexual partners. Then the reduction of sexual partners actually worked more. Other strategies, yes, worked, but that one, unless you make a halt in the transmission chain, the epidemic will not stop. It will continue. So that's what worked, I should think.
Because of the HIV Superhighway, you need to know your network and talk to your partners, your family, and other people in your community about how to make your relationships safer.
1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 4, 4 leads to 8 infections, and so on and so forth. So that concurrent sexual contacts is, I think, what really spread the disease widely and afar. And this was accentuated in the region, the whole of the East African region. So therefore, in that case, you must try to know all your networks. Networks of your spouses, of your community members, and so on and so forth. The more knowledge you have about everybody, the better for you, the better for your family, and better for the entire community.